We've got 3 NFL games for Thanksgiving, and I have 5 player props for you guys to lock in for these 3 games. Admittedly, 5 is a lot, but I love all 5 of these NFL player props for the Thanksgiving NFL betting slate. I've also been on fire with these player props, so maybe I'm feeling myself a little bit. If you're new to my channel, number 1, welcome. Number 2, would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. What I do with these NFL player props is I find plays that I like, obviously, but instead of taking them just at their main line, I juice up the numbers a little bit to get pretty juicy odds, with the logic here being that with the increased payout, you can lower your win percentage, but still be profitable because of the higher odds in the increased payout. And it's worked wonders. Monday Night Football last night, I gave out 2 player props, both of which were of the plus money variety. We got one of those 2 to cash, ended the day with a slight profit of 0.25 units. We would have liked a 2-0 day, but we will take profit whenever we can get it. That brings our total results, and this is starting in week 7, so I didn't start doing the pumped up props until week 7. But since that date, we are up 23.8 units with an ROI of 20.55%. Overall win-loss record is 15-21, but when the majority of your plays are plus 300 odds and above, you can go 15-21 and be profitable, as I have demonstrated. So as I mentioned, for Thursday, for Thanksgiving, I have 5 player props to lock in for the 3 games. And let's get into it. So play number 1 in the Packers versus Lions game. I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs anytime touchdown plus 100 odds at Caesars. This is the only non-pumped up play of the slate, but I absolutely love getting Jahmyr Gibbs to score. I think we're getting a gift at plus 100 odds at Caesars. It's a really good price. FanDuel has it at minus 130. DraftKings has it at minus 125. So I love the odds here. And I love backing Jahmyr Gibbs. He's been absolutely on fire, and that has continued even with David Montgomery returning from injury. I know that there was a little bit of fear what was going to happen to Jahmyr Gibbs' role once Montgomery comes back. Well, for 2 games here, Gibbs is still being heavily involved, so that obviously bodes well for the future. Gibbs has scored in 4 straight games, has a combined 5 touchdowns in those 4 games. So one of those games he scored twice. That was against the Chargers. That was a game in which David Montgomery did play. So he had returned from injury, and Jahmyr Gibbs still scored twice. Now, it was frustrating at the beginning of the year with Jahmyr Gibbs. Before the season, Lions offensive coordinator, Lions head coach came out and said people are going to be shocked about how they were going to use Jahmyr Gibbs the way they were going to use him. And then they came out and they barely used him. So yeah, I guess that was pretty shocking because we thought we were going to use him more. But at least they seem to have righted those wrongs in the past month. As I mentioned, he's been on fire. The low workload of the first month of the season is long gone here. He's had double-digit carries in 3 of his last 4 games. He only did that once in the Lions' first 4 games. He's played in 8. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's played in 8. And the one game that he did not have double-digit carries in the past month was last game when he had 8 carries, which would have tied his season high in the first 4 games. And he had 6 targets. So overall, he had 14 opportunities, which was significantly more than he had at the beginning of the year. He's also has a very plus matchup against the Packers. Their defense is just not good. They're 24th in the NFL just in total defense DVOA. They're 24th against the pass, and they're 20th against the run. Jahmyr Gibbs can score through the air. He can score on the ground. Plus 100 odds at Caesars is an absolute gift, which I will gladly take advantage of as our first and only non-pumped up prop of the day. Now I'm going to have 4 more plays for you. 2 of them are in the Cowboys versus Commanders game, and I'm going to say them at the same time because they're correlated. So play number 1 is CeeDee Lamb, 120 plus receiving yards, plus 230 odds at DraftKings. And the second play is Dak Prescott, 300 plus passing yards, plus 240 odds at DraftKings. So you see the top 2 plays, and then you see the odds in order of the plays in which they're listed. I will admit this is a little bit bold here. This is the first time that I am taking both the quarterback and the receiver, but I think that both separately, Prescott and Lamb can blow up, and they're obviously correlated as well. If Dak Prescott throws for 300 yards, it's more likely than not that 120 of them go to CeeDee Lamb. And even if we somehow only go 1-1 with these 2 plays, well, we will still be profitable because of the odds. So that's kind of my whole logic in general with these pumped up props. And in general, I love backing Dak and Lamb. These two have been on fire for about 4 or 5 games straight. The Cowboys got curb stomped against the 49ers on October 8th. Since then, the Cowboys offense has been on fire. They've played 5 games since then. Dak has gone 300 plus passing yards in 3 of those 5 games. And that's not even because they've been losing. The Cowboys have won 4 of those 5 games. And in 3 of those 5 games, they have won by 20 plus. Even in blowouts, Dak and CeeDee Lamb can both go off. I don't know what happened after that 49ers game. What I do know is that the Cowboys' offensive philosophy heavily changed after that game to be more pass heavy and to target CeeDee Lamb more. And guess what? Getting the ball to your best player, turns out that works. In that 5-game stretch, the Cowboys, as I mentioned, have had 3 blowouts. 2 of those 3 blowouts were against the Rams and the Giants. In those games, Dak passed for 304 and 404 passing yards. Now, CeeDee Lamb, if you want to look at him specifically, he has been blowing up as well. He has gone over 100 receiving yards in 4 of the last 5 games. He's gone over 125 in 3 of the last 5 games. And in this matchup against the Commanders, even though I do think that the Cowboys are going to win and cover the spread, I still think that they're going to have a ton of success through the air. The Commanders' passing defense is god-awful. They allow the second most passing yards per game, and they have the second worst both yards per attempt and yards per completion, and according to DVOA, have the literal worst passing defense in the entire NFL. Very, very much not good. So last game, the Cowboys blew out the Panthers. Both Dak and CeeDee Lamb didn't do anything. That is the outlier. That is not the norm. I will bet that things will revert back to both of these players having a ton of success, even in a blowout. I still think that both of these players are going to blow up. So I like backing both of them. I like backing one of them individually. So that hopefully we're cashing our second and third plays of the Thanksgiving NFL slate. And then last up in the 49ers versus Seahawks game, I'm going to have another 2 plays. And I'm doing a very, very similar thing where I'm taking Brandon Ayuk, 100 plus receiving yards. This is at plus 340 at DraftKings. And I'm taking Brock Purdy, 300 plus passing yards, plus 285 odds at DraftKings. So I'm doing the same thing in this one with Ayuk and Purdy. And I will say, for this specific matchup, I feel even more strongly that Purdy could blow up without it being Ayuk, more so than I do Dak blowing up without it being Lamb. Obviously, the Cowboys have the clear number 1 in CeeDee Lamb, whereas the 49ers, they have more weapons, and Purdy does a really good job of spreading the ball around. So it could end up being a situation like 2 weeks ago where Purdy had a really, really good game. He threw for 296 yards, just below 300, and Ayuk didn't blow up in that one. But in general, just looking at the 49ers and at Purdy, since the 3-game losing streak and since the bye week, Brock Purdy and the 49ers have been awesome. Brock Purdy specifically has been incredible. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, he threw for 296 yards. He could have easily thrown for more, but the 49ers were winning 34-3 against the Jaguars, so they didn't need to pass. He easily could have gone for more. While I do think that in the Seahawks game, against the Seahawks 49ers game, I do think that the 49ers win and cover. I'm expecting it to be a little bit more competitive than it was 2 weeks ago against the Jags. I think what's more likely is that what happens in the Seahawks game is very similar to what we saw last week, where the 49ers won by 13, but the 49ers and Purdy passed for 333 yards, and Brandon Ayuk had like 150 of those. Looking at the matchup, this is another plus matchup for the passing team for the 49ers against the Seahawks. The Seahawks have a good rushing defense, and they're not good against the air. They're not good through the air. Looking at DVOA, they have the 25th ranked passing defense in the NFL and the 16th ranked rushing defense. One thing to keep in mind with that rushing defense is at the trade deadline, they added Leonard Williams. So presumably they should be even better than those stats indicate because they're getting better with the addition of Leonard Williams. They just haven't had the same success through the air. Then looking at Ayuk, he's pretty hit or miss. He had a couple blow up games this year, including last week. Just because of the matchup, I think he's capable once again of blowing up. The Seahawks have allowed 4 receivers to go over 100 yards this season, and they allowed Amari Cooper to get pretty close to that at 89 yards, and that Browns passing attack is not close to the 49ers passing attack. Now, the Seahawks did have a good game last week against the Rams. That had more to do with injuries than them actually having a successful defense. So I am projecting the 49ers to be able to move the ball with ease through the air in this one, hopefully cashing at least one, but hopefully both of these plays for the slate. And that rounds out our fourth and fifth final picks of the evening. 5 NFL player props for you guys to lock in. If we can just get 2, depending on which 2 to cash, we will be profitable. If we get all 5, we will be rich. So let's root for that. And that's all I got. Appreciate everybody for watching. Have a happy holidays. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And have a good one.